Hello and welcome back. If you've been here before, I am Hawkeye and this is Maple Leafs Man Advantage. And I apologize to any Montreal Canadiens fan out there. I'm finally getting around to the last part here of the 1978 Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're in the finals here between the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins. Now, if you do like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit like or the thumbs up. As well, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. Check out some other videos. It's generally about the Leafs, not always, but going through the history of hockey as well. I occasionally put some current stuff on here about the Leafs, but and if you want to comment on anything, go ahead and do so as well. I love getting people's feedback or opinions about hockey. It's all great. So with the Bruins down 2-0 in the series, they're going to return to Boston Garden to try and right the ship here, try and get in the win column against the Montreal Canadiens. It appears as though the Bruins may have controlled the game very well, as Gary Doak scored the game winner just 59 seconds into the game, and the Bruins shut out the Habs 4-0 to get in the win column. It's now 2-1. Game 4, Greg Shepard scored just 25 seconds into the game. Quick goals here from the Bruins. But the Habs did bounce back enough to stop the bleeding. It was 3-2 in the last minute of the game, but Lafleur tied it up with 33 seconds left. In overtime, it was Bobby Schmaltz of the Bruins who scored the game winner, and the Bruins took it by a 4-3 score to tie the series up at 2. Shepard also had 2 assists in the game. So for Game 5, they're both headed back to the Montreal Forum. I was able to see this game. Once again, it was an old CBC Hockey Night in Canada broadcast with the great Danny Gallivan, Chico Resch, and Dick Irvin doing the commentating, and Irvin and Resch did the color. Before the game, co-host Dan Kelly and Resch talk about the pressures that have been ramped up now in the series, all tied up at 2. As Resch states, everybody thought the series was going to be a sweep by the Habs. It was not. But the Bruins have won the last 2 at home. So there is pressure on the Habs because they're not being as successful as everyone thought they were going to be. And the pressure is on Boston now because they're showing they may be able to win this series. They've tied this thing back up. Can they win in Montreal to take a lead in the series? Serge Savard then talks to Kelly about the series. Savard is playing in his 101st playoff game tonight. Savard in turn gives the Bruins credit for being a great hockey team. Dave Newell is the referee for the game, and that for the Bruins is Jerry Cheevers, who after 2 games I've seen him play maybe the best Bruin out there. He's played very well for them, and for Montreal it's Kenny Dryden. In the first period, a loose puck was rolling towards the Habs zone, so Dryden decided to get out of his net to get it. For the Bruins, Rick Middleton was skating hard to the puck, coming towards the blue line. Dryden threw his goal stick out to the puck, tipped it away from Middleton while he flew in the air close to the boards. Dryden was able to get back into his net before the Bruins were able to hit the wide open cage. Montreal has Robinson coming into the Boston zone, cuts around Mike Milbury, and shovels it above Cheevers. Looked real good on the goal. Dennis O'Brien then picks up a penalty, giving the Canadiens a chance to go up by a pair. Lafleur came in on Cheevers, but he was able to kick it out, along with stopping Yvon Lambert, who was cut in front of the Boston net. It was Pierre Mondoux, though, who brings a puck out from behind the net and cut wide in front of the net above the hash marks, turned and fired one past Cheevers for the power play marker. It's now 2-0 for the Canadiens. Jacques Lemaire brings one toward the net, sliding along the ice, and Cheevers pokes at it with his stick. But the puck squeaks through his legs. Cheevers, though, is able to tap it with his one leg, and the puck slides out of the crease away from danger. Boy, a close one there. In the game, there seems to be an endless parade to the penalty box. No surprise with these two heated rivals facing off against each other here. Dave Newell is really tight on the calls, but at the same time on the replays I do see they are penalties, and the tempers are getting very high between these two rivals. Don Cherry appears to be getting worked up behind the Boston bench after some setting minors to Lemaire and Don Marcotte. And someone in the Montreal crowd likely wanted to get at him. This was crazy as Cherry was shouting up in the crowd behind him, and police officers showed up and walked into the crowd behind Cherry. Now remember, there was no glass. You could reach out and touch somebody. So that's pretty intense. I'm 100% sure of this. Every rink in the NHL or in junior hockey, they have glass around the entire board. So that was the old Montreal form. I'm thinking it was like that in Maple Leaf Gardens too, I believe. Those old rinks, they didn't have glass behind the benches. But Montreal is able to coast to a 2-0 lead after the first period. In the first intermission, Irvin has a program on Mondeau, who scored the second goal in this game. Mondeau is really an unsung hero of the Canadiens' 1970s dynasty. He's never mentioned, really. He scored 19 goals in his rookie year. This is his rookie year. And he went on to score 194 goals in just 548 games. By the time he was 30, he was out of the NHL. Scored 30 goals 3 different seasons and won 3 Stanley Cups with the Habs. But when talking to people about those teams, and there are a lot of excellent players to talk about, a lot of Hall of Famers to talk about, I never hear this guy's name ever mentioned. Irvin then talks to Middleton, who says the confidence of the Bruins has improved as the series has progressed, and the Bruins were not mentally prepared when the series started. Excuse me. Lunan then talks with Dan Kelly about the differences between Cherry and Bowman behind the bench. That's Scotty Bowman of the Habs. Nan also thinks Boston has grown flat-footed, giving Montreal the edge in the game now, which I agree with. The game has opened up very nicely for Montreal since Robinson scored that first goal. The second sort of has a creeping start, but Doug Risebrough and Terry O'Reilly mix it up, a guy I would never want to fight. Then Bobby Schmaltz and Mario Tremblay, they square off, and Tremblay gets a couple of good ones in before they tumble to the ice. However, in the end, Montreal is in the power play due to double minors to O'Reilly. That's not good. Of course, Cherry is irate behind the bench. Boston, though, they're able to kill it off, so that's good for the Bruins. For Montreal, Pierre LaRouche got a pass in the slot, but Cheevers was able to dive down and stop the shot. Once again, keeping the Bruins in the game. He's been doing that a lot in Montreal, the games I've seen. Marcotte picks up a bad penalty when he hooks Lafleur to the ice in the neutral zone, putting the Habs back on the power play. LaRouche gets in all alone, but once again, Cheevers is able to kick it out with a save. Yet before the puck can be cleared, Savard is able to dance around a couple of Bruins, digging deeper in the zone, and fires a pass across the ice to LaRouche, who then shoots the puck into the net, giving the Canadiens a 3-0 lead at this point. In return, Cherry is yelling at Raf Newell. Personally, I don't think the Bruins can come back from this. This is an amazing team. That's putting it lightly. The Montreal Canadiens of 1977-78. Some could even question if it's the best team ever put together. They had a fantastic record. So this is going to be an incredibly tall ask here. There is just under 7 minutes left in the period as well. During the play, Wayne Cashman is dumped by Bob Gainey, which Newell does not call. Oh boy. After the whistle, Cashman drifts past Newell with his stick high. Oh boy. And may have said something about his mama or something. Oh boy. As Newell calls an unsportsmanlike call on Cashman, and oh boy, I think they've just punched their ticket for the loss here. Park then becomes completely irate. That's Brad Park, the defenseman. Boston is really digging their own grave here. Boston is able to kill it off, though, so that's good. But Lemaire comes to the blue line and hammers one in past Cheevers after the power play. With less than 2 minutes left in the period, the Bruins are looking dead here. Period ends. Montreal is up 4-0 in Game 5. In the second intermission, Irvin has a program on the Conn Smythe Trophy, which is the MVP of the playoffs, going over each of the winners of the trophy, including the lone Toronto Maple Leaf that ever won that hardware, and that was Dave Keon, won it in 1967. Dan Kelly then talks with Bruins Johnny Bucyk, who is not playing in the series due to injury. He played just 53 games, scored only 5 goals this season, and this would be his final season. Hall of Famer Johnny Bucyk. He and Kelly talked about Busyk's chances of returning, but sadly, he will not. I believe he also had just turned 43 years old. Not a young pup. He's an old man playing in this league. So Johnny has got nothing to be ashamed of. He's grabbed 2 Stanley Cups along the way. So that's awesome. Rush then talks to Nan, who these two are hilarious because they are totally ribbing each other, and adds a nice flavor of humor to the game. So we get into the third period here, and early Lafleur is dumped to the ice by Peter McNabb. He grabs a penalty. As I said earlier, parade to the penalty box here. Terry O'Reilly also gets the door for a game misconduct. I'm still not exactly sure what he did, but Newell tonight is not taking any guff from any of these players. And personally, I do think Cherry may not actually be helping things, yelling at the ref at every time you see him, or each opportunity he's screaming at the ref. Cheevers has also been replaced by Ron Graham. He's now in the net for the Bruins, which I agree with, and giving Cheevers some time off before the Bruins may need him in the next game. Boston is able to kill the penalty off, which is good. Dryden makes a very nice kick save as Milbury back passes to Cashman, who chips one to the Montreal net right as he was right in front of the net. Later in the game, the Bruins are on the power play. Schmatz fires one from the point. Dryden saves it, but the rebound bounces out to Marcotte, who puts it into the Montreal net. So there you go. The Bruins are on the scoreboard now, 4-1. Lafleur gets a breakaway and tries the backhander, but Graham stays with him and keeps the puck out of the net. Right near the end of the game, tempers are flaring up as teams mix it up behind the Bruins net. Stan Jonathan, now taking on Risebrough, they're wanting to get at each other. Bob Miller and Guy Lapointe get into a fight. Then John Wensink and Mario Tremblay, they're going at it. Milbury and Robinson, who really shows me how strong he is here, is he's overpowering Milbury. I know that about Robinson watching these old games. I would not want to tussle with him. He was big and strong as an ox. That's Larry Robinson. Just 21 seconds left and players are parading to the dressing room. The first 2 periods that the Canadiens played were just too much for the Bruins to really catch up. Montreal takes Game 5 by a 4-1 score and now lead the series 3-2. Serge Savard ends up being the first star of the game. We will see if the Bruins can bounce back on home ice. Irvin and Nan talk about what the Bruins have to do in order to win Game 6. Just love how at the end of the game they have a commercial promoting both the Montreal Expos and the Toronto Blue Jays baseball on CBC. This would be the Blue Jays' second season in Major League Baseball. So they're very young team. Haven't even come close to the highs that they're going to hit. Just a few years down the road here, they'll be a very good team. But this year they ended up with 59 wins and 102 losses. Not very good. But as I said, it's just their second year. First baseman John Mayberry ended up with 22 homers. And 22-year-old starting pitcher Jim Clancy, he had 10 wins. .409 ERA, and 106 Ks. That's good. I got a card of both those guys with the Blue Jays as well somewhere. For Game 6, it was at the Boston Garden, and Mario Tremblay scored 2 goals, including the game winner, as Montreal skated away with once again a 4-1 win and won their 3rd Stanley Cup in a row. You are a dynasty, guaranteed, 3 in a row. For Montreal, Guy Lafleur, he scored 11 goals. Larry Robinson had 17 assists, and both of them had 21 points to lead the team. Interestingly, it was Steve Shutt who was more known for his goal scoring than his penalties. He led the Habs with 20 penalty minutes. Ken Dryden ended up playing all 15 games, had a 12-3 record, and a sparkling 1.90 goals against average, and a .920 save percentage. How are you going to beat these guys with goaltending like that? And he also had 2 shutouts. Boy, I must say that Montreal must have been extremely difficult to beat. They were great at each type of game, whether you wanted to try and outscore them, out-hit them, or try and shut them down. Boy, they had so much talent in Montreal. In the end, Montreal scored 6 power play goals in the 5 games against the Red Wings, 4 against the Leafs in the 4 games they played there, and 4 in the 6 games against the Bruins, giving the Habs 14 power play goals in 15 games. It was Robinson who won the Conn Smythe for the Habs as well. For the Leafs, it was awesome. They made the semifinals. They have not gotten this far since. They won the Stanley Cup in 1967. Of course, I understand they were swept 4 straight by the Habs. I just went over how amazing of a team they were. But in my eyes, they might not be as far from being at a higher level of competition than you think. Toronto's not loaded with all these old guys. They're guys in their prime, like Sittler, like Salming, like Turnbull. Okay, you got this real young goalie in Mike Palmateer in net. And I do believe Mike Palmateer, at this point, he was good enough to win a cup. If you put Palmateer in Montreal's net, they would have won a cup. You put Dryden in Toronto, I don't know. I don't know if they would have won a cup. It's a team game, right? It's not just one. I would never say you're gonna win a cup just because you got a goalie and the whole team out in front of them is clearly not as good as the other team. But if you put Salming in the lineup, he never played against Montreal. Remember, he was injured for that series. Along with Turnbull, allow Randy Carlyle to blossom into a defenseman he becomes. There's 3 excellent defensemen right there. Boom. That's amazing. Up front is where the Leafs may need to beef up, and I mean add perhaps a couple more goal scorers. It ain't easy to find, but I think that's what they want. Maybe a couple of guys that can score 25 for you. But we are going to see what happens in the next off season, and that is it. The 1978 Stanley Cup goes to the Montreal Canadiens. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and tomorrow is the men's Olympic gold medal game between the United States and Team Canada. I think that's at 10 after 8 in the morning. I'll be up, I'll be watching it, and I hope for an excellent game. But until next time, enjoy your hockey, guys.